Good evening. I am Driti Atri, and tonight on Skyline, the American dream for thousands of Indian tech workers is suddenly looking uncertain. Layoffs are rising, AI is replacing jobs faster than expected, visa debates are becoming more political, and now from Walmart to Cisco to Cloudflare, the message coming out of America's tech sector that is becoming impossible to ignore. Tonight, we'll show you how the Iran war is affecting jobs in the United States, why Indian H-1B workers are suddenly facing fresh scrutiny after Walmart layoffs, and why thousands of AI-related jobs they are being cut and spreading from Silicon Valley. Most importantly, why Indian techies are scared of returning home despite India's booming startup economy, and why even the biggest AI companies now openly admit that they are replacing jobs to fund the future. And behind all these stories tonight is one uncomfortable question. Is AI quietly reshaping the lives of Indian professionals in America faster than anybody ever expected? So let's start. First, we'll talk about the war in Iran that is no longer just the West Asia story. Tonight, it is becoming an American job story too. And for thousands of Indian tech workers living in the United States, that matters, and that too a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, new US data shows unemployment benefit claims have started rising again as economic uncertainty spread across America. More than 211,000 Americans filed fresh jobless claims last particular week. Now, historically, that number, it's still considered relatively low, right? But economists say something more dangerous is happening underneath the surface. Companies are slowly hiring dramatically while layoffs continue quietly across sectors. And one major reason is the Iran conflict here, because the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important oil route, that remains deeply unstable. In fact, nearly 20% of global oil passes through this particular narrow waterway. Since the conflict escalated, oil prices have surged sharply. In fact, gasoline prices in the US have jumped, inflation is rising again, and suddenly businesses across America are becoming more cautious about hiring. So, why should Indian techies care? Because uncertainty is toxic for immigrant workers on visas. American citizens losing jobs, they face just one crisis. But H-1B visa holders, they face something far more frightening. If they lose employment, they can lose visa status too. That means layoffs are not just professional setbacks for many Indians in America. They can become immigration emergency. And this is happening while inflation is already hurting the American consumer. Food prices are high, housing remains expensive, interest rate remains high, companies are cutting costs aggressively. And on the top of all of this, AI is beginning to transform the labor market itself. The US economy today, it is entering what economists call low hire, low fire environment. Companies are not hiring aggressively, but they are also not openly expanding. And that creates a kind of a frozen labor market where people lose jobs, they struggle to find new ones, and for the Indian techies in the US, specifically those dependent on visas, this creates a lot of anxiety. And tonight, many Indians working in Silicon Valley, Seattle, Texas, New York, and New Jersey, they are quietly asking the same question. If the global economy weakens further, who gets protected first, American workers or foreign visa holders? And as layoffs spread across America, Indian H-1B workers are now facing another problem: growing political and online scrutiny. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our second debatable topic tonight. Walmart recently laid off nearly 1,000 employees in the United States. But instead of layoffs becoming only a corporate story, they suddenly turned into another political battle around Indian tech workers and H-1B visa system. In fact, a viral Reddit post triggered massive controversy online after allegations surfaced against an Indian Walmart tech employee. The post claimed that employee was allegedly running a WhatsApp and LinkedIn group, helping place the IT contractors into Walmart through consulting network. The allegation quickly exploded across social media, despite no verified proof being publicly presented. And now, this is important because it shows how quickly Indian tech workers are becoming targets, specifically during a period of economic uncertainty in the US. Every time layoffs increase, visa debates becomes louder. Social media narratives spread rapidly and foreign workers often become easy political talking points. This post, it also claims private groups that were allegedly sharing job openings internally instead of using public hiring platforms. Now, what's wrong with that? I have no idea, but another allegation suggests that commercial networking activity involving events, sponsorship, and large WhatsApp group. Again, no official violation has been confirmed yet, but online reaction, they were immediate, they were intense. And this reflects a larger tension inside the American tech industry right now. Critics of the H-1B visa, they argue that companies use foreign workers to reduce cost or create dependency structure inside consultant network. Supporters argue that Indian professionals, they are essential to America's tech dominance and contribute massively to innovation, engineering, and growth. But during layoffs, public emotions change very quickly. Workers losing jobs begin searching for explanations. Politicians begin discussing immigration more aggressively. And social media amplifies every accusation, whether it's verified or not. For Indian techies in the US, this creates a difficult atmosphere. Many already face uncertainty due to visa restriction, green card backlog, and constant fear around layoff. Now they are also facing rising online hostility linked to broader debate about immigration and employment. And wait, ladies and gentlemen, the timing is specifically sensitive because the US tech sector, it is no longer expanding the way it did during the pandemic boom years. Hiring, it has slowed dramatically. Companies are reconstructing AI investment, they are replacing traditional recruitment. And immigrant workers increasingly feel that they are being watched more closely than before. But if Walmart triggered one controversy, Silicon Valley itself is now sending an even bigger warning signal. Moving on to the third segment, then artificial intelligence is no longer just creating excitement. It is now openly replacing jobs, and some of America's biggest tech companies, they are no longer hiding it. We are talking about Cisco. Cisco has now announced 4,000 layoffs as the company shifts aggressively towards AI-focused operation. Now, this particular company, it described itself as critical infrastructure for the AI era. But behind that corporate language, ladies and gentlemen, lies a much harsher reality. Companies are cutting workers while redirecting money towards artificial intelligence system. And Cisco, it is not alone. Along the tech industry, layoffs are escalating while AI investment explodes. Amazon, LinkedIn, Cloudflare, Meta, multiple companies are reconstructing simultaneously. Executives publicly speak about AI transformation, operational efficiency, and future readiness here. Well, for the workers, the translation, simple. Fewer humans, more automation. But you know what? This is specifically alarming for Indian tech professionals because Indians form one of the largest immigrant group inside America's tech workforce. In fact, thousands work in coding, testing, support operation, back-end system, infrastructure management, and consulting roles. Exactly the kind of jobs AI tools are beginning to disrupt first. And wait, here's the uncomfortable truth. Many workers are slowly realizing companies may not need as many entry-level or mid-level engineers anymore. That's right. AI coding assistants, automation tools, and intelligent systems, they are dramatically increasing productivity. One engineer using advanced AI tool can sometimes complete the work that previously required multiple employees. Even investors, they are rewarding layoffs now. Cisco's stock reportedly surged after the company announced reconstructing and AI-focused cost-cutting. Well, that tells you something very important about the mindset that is dominating Silicon Valley. Wall Street increasingly rewards efficiency, automation, AI-driven reconstructing. And this is creating fear among the tech industry because workers are no longer worried only about recession or outsourcing. They are now worried about replacement, not by cheaper labor, but the software itself. Tonight, the AI revolution is beginning to look very, very different from the optimistic future many people imagined. Because while AI may create enormous profit for companies, millions of workers are asking where they fit into that future. And as layoffs spread through Silicon Valley, many Indian tech workers, they are now quietly considering a difficult possibility, returning home to India. But even that decision comes with a lot of fear. Well, for years, working in America, it represented success for many Indian tech professionals, right? Better salaries, better work-life balance, cleaner system, more professional environment. But now, as layoffs rise and visa uncertainty grows, many Indians are asking themselves a very difficult question. What if we have to return home? And surprisingly, many are deeply conflicted about the answer here. Ladies and gentlemen, a growing number of Indian professionals working in the US, they say they admire India's booming startup ecosystem and India's fast-growing economy. Countries like Flipkart, Zoho, Zomato, India's expanding AI ecosystem, they are creating excited opportunity. But many workers also fear returning to what they described as toxic work culture, extreme hierarchy, long working hours, burnout, and constant workplace pressure. In the meantime, one Indian professional based in Seattle, he described American work culture as no nonsense. Finish your work and leave. No pressure to stay late simply because your boss is still in the office. Another worker also returned to India after years in the US. He said that the intense, timeline-driven grind, it immediately returned after coming back home. Now, this particular debate, it matters because India wants to become a global technology superpower. The country is producing world-class founders, engineers, AI startups, and digital infrastructure. But retaining global talent, it requires more than growth. It also requires sustainable work environment. Now, many Indian tech workers, they today admire India's innovation story, but they fear losing personal freedom, work-life balance, and mental health stability if they return permanently. Several say that American workplaces often prioritize direct communication and efficiency, while Indian corporate system can remain deeply hierarchy-driven. And you know what? Here's the bigger problem. Many H-1B workers, they may not always have a choice if layoff worsen, right? Losing a job in America, it can trigger visa pressure very quickly. That means thousands of Indian professionals are now living with a backup plan constantly in their mind. So tonight, the emotional reality for many Indian tech workers, that's complicated. America feels uncertain, but returning home does not always feel simple either. They are caught between two worlds, one becoming economically unstable and another one still struggling with workplace cultural problems. But even as workers worry about layoffs and burnout, India itself is becoming the center of one of the world's biggest AI expansion. And well, while narrating this story, I'm extremely proud. While layoffs dominate headlines, another astonishing shift is happening quietly in the background. India has now become Meta, AI's biggest market in the world. Yes, bigger than America, bigger than Europe. India is now at the center of Meta's global AI ambition. Ladies and gentlemen, in a major statement, WhatsApp chief, Mr. Will, he revealed that India leads the world in monthly active users for Meta AI. And this tells us something extremely important about the future of technology. The next AI revolution may not be driven only from Silicon Valley anymore. It may increasingly be driven by India's massive digital population. Can you think about the scale here? Hundreds of millions of Indians already use WhatsApp daily. Internet access is expanding rapidly. AI tools are becoming integrated directly into messaging platform. And now, Meta sees India not just as a user base, but as a testing ground for the future of AI-powered communication itself. Mr. Cathcart, he also emphasizes privacy-focused AI system, saying that Meta wants AI interactions protected through encryptions. But this creates another challenge. If conversation remains private, Meta cannot easily use those chats to train the future models, right? Now that means companies are now balancing two competing goals. Well, smarter AI versus stronger privacy. And while Meta celebrates explosive AI growth in India, tech layoffs continue globally at the very same time. Amazon, Cisco, LinkedIn, and multiple firms are cutting workers while investing billions into artificial intelligence infrastructure. That contradiction. It defines the tech industry today. AI is creating enormous opportunities and enormous fears simultaneously. Companies see AI as the future. Investors are rewarding AI investment aggressively, but workers increasingly fear becoming disposable during this transition. Well, for the Indian tech workers, this creates both hope and anxiety. India may become one of the world's biggest AI opportunity center, but AI may also disrupt many traditional software jobs Indians relied upon for decades. So tonight, India stands at the center of the AI boom, but also at the center of AI disruption and the reconstructing. It is becoming even more brutal inside companies trying to reinvent themselves around artificial intelligence. And one such story, it includes Cloudflare. Cloudflare's latest announcement shocked major investors and workers alike. The company revealed plans to cut nearly 20% of its workforce as part of a major AI-focused reconstructing strategy. And this story perfectly captures what is happening across the entire tech industry right now. Cloudflare says it wants to reposition itself around what it calls an agentic AI-first future. Let me simplify that for you. Companies now want AI system handling larger parts of operations, development, infrastructure, and automation. And to fund that transition, human jobs are being cut. The company will reportedly spend up to $150 million on reconstructing charges while trying to realign itself with future AI demand. In fact, investors are watching closely because Cloudflare sits at the intersection of cybersecurity, internet infrastructure, and AI-driven computing, sectors expected to grow rapidly over the next few years. But for the workers, specifically for the immigrant tech workers, the message is worrying. AI reconstructing, it is no longer limited to struggling companies trying to survive. Even companies that are growing revenue are laying off people just for what? AI. And this is changing how workers think about career security itself. Earlier, people worried about outsourcing. Then they worried about recession. But now they are worrying about the algorithm. Entire categories of technical work may eventually shrink if AI system becomes advanced enough to automate coding, to automate troubleshooting and infrastructure management. Cloudflare's situation, it also reveals something important here. Investors now often reward companies for layoffs if those cuts are linked to AI strategy. Market increasingly believes automation means future profitability. But workers see something else. They see instability. And once again, Indian professionals remain heavily exposed because of their massive presence inside America's technology workforce. From cloud engineering to back-end system to infrastructure support, Indian workers are deeply integrated into exactly the sectors experiencing the AI-driven transformation. So tonight, the AI reset inside Silicon Valley, it is no longer theoretical. It is happening in real time. And wait, finally tonight, behind every layoff, every AI investment and every visa fear lies one deeper question that nobody fully answers yet. Is AI quietly rewriting the American dream just for the Indian techies? For decades, the formula, it seemed pretty clear. Study engineering, move to America, get into tech, build stability, support your family, achieve the mobility. Now that journey, it defines the whole dream of countless Indian families. But tonight, that formula, it is beginning to change. The American tech industry is entering a transformation unlike anything seen before. AI is increasing productivity at extraordinary speed. Companies are cutting workers while investing billions into automation. Immigration debates are becoming more political. In fact, global conflicts are affecting inflation and hiring, and uncertainty is spreading across the job market. Now, for Indian tech workers in America, this creates a very uniquely a stressful situation. Many are highly skilled, many are deeply integrated into the US economy, but visa dependency makes them specifically vulnerable during layoffs. One bad quarter at a company, it can suddenly threaten not only employment but residency, family stability, long-term life plans. At the very same time, India itself is rising technologically. AI adoption is exploding. In fact, startup ecosystem are growing, global companies are investing heavily in India, but concerns around burnout, hierarchy-driven work culture and extreme work pressure that still remains unresolved for many professionals considering a return home. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, this moment it feels so emotionally complex for Indian tech workers worldwide. They are standing between two giant transitions happening simultaneously. America transforming through AI and India transforming into a global tech power. Nobody fully understands what next 5 years will look like though, but tonight one thing is becoming clear. The AI revolution is no longer a distant future story. It is already reshaping jobs, immigration, work culture, and the lives of millions of Indian professionals right now. So, tonight on Skyline, we saw something bigger than just layoffs. We saw a global reset beginning quietly across the technology world. AI is changing hiring, changing companies, changing immigration debate, and changing career security itself. And for many Indian techies in the US, the pressure feels specifically personal because their careers are tied not only to jobs but often to visas, residency, and entire family future. Well, the next tech revolution may create enormous wealth, but tonight, millions are asking a simpler question: who gets left behind during that particular transition? So, I'm Driti Atri, this is Skyline, and I'll see you in the next one.